يا من أجبت دعاء نوح فانتصر وحملته في فلكك المشحون يا من أحال النار حول خليله روحا وريحانا بقولك.
إن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back for a few words. Dhul Hijjah, day 5. Alhamdulillah, we are aware that Dhul Hijjah and the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, these are the days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought them and made them a part and pillar of Islam because He loved the sacrifices Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family made, so much so that we, in order to call ourselves complete and full Muslims, if we have the capacity, then we need to fulfill the rights of Hajj. And for those who cannot go on Hajj and fulfill those rights because of the means or because of whatever the lack thereof may be, wherever we are around the world, we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is interesting that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went for Mi'raj, he bumped into this very same Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said something quite interesting to Rasulullah. And he says to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Jannah is barren. There's nothing growing, but the soil is fertile, and the plantations are Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. And it's quite interesting that the person who is very responsible for the fifth pillar of Islam, Hajj, Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family, Ibrahim alayhi salam, gives this advice to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in Mi'raj when they meet each other. Subhanallah. And what beautiful way other than to take these words upon our lips, as we are advised in other ahadith that these are the things that we should increase in, especially in these 10 days. Obviously we should do them throughout the entire year, but especially in these 10 days, that we should increase our tasbih, our tahmid, saying alhamdulillah, our takbir, saying Allahu Akbar, and tahleel, saying la ilaha illallah. And the ulama, they have actually said that, they've coined a term for it, the third kalima, subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. And we should recite this as much as possible because this glorifies Allah. This reinforces the oneness of Allah. This makes us realize that Allah is the greatest. So when we are saying this all the time, not only lip service, but we mean it, and we are saying this, and we sing alhamdulillah, we are actually praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of this is remembrance and remembering Allah in these 10 days as much as possible, increasing that amount, but also increasing our iman. And the difference between the living and the dead is that the person who is living, he takes the tasbih upon his lips and he remembers Allah and he does the dhikr of Allah. And this living and the dead is the spirituality, is the spiritual difference between the living and the dead. So the person who remembers Allah is like the living, and the person who does not remember Allah is like the dead. And in another hadith, we're even told the virtue that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam walking by and he saw Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he was planting a tree or something, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, what are you doing? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he responds back, Ya Rasulullah, I am planting this plant. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, shall I tell you something better to plant? He says, what? He said, the recitation or the statement of Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. For if we do this, then we will have trees and plants in paradise. Subhanallah. So every time we recite this, Allah will give us a tree in Jannah. Allah will give us a tree in Jannah. Not the tree of the world, then the tree of Jannah, where the ulama have further described that the one tree is so huge that if you were to take an Arabian horse and to ride for 100 years, we will not finish the shade of it. This is how huge. If that one tree is so huge, then imagine within a minute we can say more than 40, 50 subhanallahs, and we can say the third kalima many times. How many trees will we be able to plant in our Jannah? And if this is the size of the trees that we will be planting in Jannah, how big is this Jannah? Subhanallah. So let us utilize these special days in getting closer to Allah by increasing the amount of tasbih and tahmid and tahleel and takbir. And as the ulama have coined it, the third kalima, let us say as much as possible. This is the thing that will take us closer to Allah, and this is the thing that the people who are in Hajj and the people who go out for Hajj, they will be saying it loudly and reminding others others around them that this is the time to remember Allah. So all of us, as much as possible, we should say this tasbihat, and we should take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do as much adhkar as possible, as much dhikr as possible, remember Him as much as possible, inshallah. These are one of the things that we need to increase and will take us closer to Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and ability to do this as much as possible. Remember me in your du'as, share, like, subscribe, and inform others. Write comments below. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
يا من أجبت دعاء نوح